What is going on, X community? XOSnap here. And today, people, we are going to be going over the Mega Aggron finals. So basically, you guys haven't been here for the whole entire time. We're going to be guessing who's going to win this finals match. And joining me is going to be DDA.
Hello.
So, I'm not sure what well, I guess I am sure what happened last week.
You perfectly predicted everything that was going to happen.
Yes.
I mean, to be fair, I kind of had to. I mean, one of them we both knew was going to happen, and that was that Solo was going to win. But like, I obviously wanted to do it for the views of Mustang winning. I didn't think he was going to win. Like, neither one of us thought he was going to win, but I had to do it for the content, man. Bro, it's like one of those things where like, if we're both boring and do the same thing, then what's the video for, right? So, like, we got to give some suspense to it. Because if Mustang won that game, I would have won.
Let me see. That would have been you with 4 points. With the
well, you also got it perfectly, so that's a little obviously like assuming that it just like flip-flopped. Let's say that I got Mustang perfectly, right?
It would.
So that
would have
been. Well, if I got it perfectly, we wouldn't have been. We wouldn't have.
Oh, you're completely perfect.
Yeah, I was saying if we just completely flipped. Because to be fair, if Mustang won, it was never going to be close, and it was mostly if that Toxic Croak magically was getting kills. So.
Yeah. All right. I guess we can get on to the match then. Of course, we have Darkcrafter versus Solo. Who would have guessed the two top seeds are versing in the finals?
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I'm still mad that I didn't get to send this because I threw. But regardless, honestly, on the other side of the bracket, I really only saw two. Well, yeah, I really only saw two teams making it all the way through. And that would have realistically have been either Solo or you. I think the winner of that quarter matchup was just going to be the winner of that bracket. I kind of just knew that from the beginning. Because, like, Marshy's team was probably the only contender. Like, other than there, like, I don't really think that Chungus... I'm pretty sure Chungus was the other one. Yeah, Chungus... I don't really felt like Chungus had the team against the other three teams. I felt like Chungus's team was the weakest among the three. And, obviously, Solo had already beat Marshy, and I felt like your team also beat Marshy's team. So, in my eyes, it was just whoever won that quarter matchup was just going to win that side of the bracket. And so, I'm not really surprised. And then Darkrafter being here, I'm also not surprised, because he's the only team that, once again, I believe that, like, my team on paper would not have beaten. So, the fact that I didn't even get to verse him, I felt like literally any of the other teams there easily lost to his team. Mustang's team was going to lose. And who did Darkrafter play first? Oh yeah, Adrian. Which, to be fair, was a close game, but he still won.
Wait. You said Darkcraft?
Yes. What are we talking about?
You said for... I'm confused.
Okay. I was saying that... You know how I just said Solo, I think, was the... Of the two, of all the teams on his side of the bracket, it was either going to be you or Solo. And since he had a better matchup against you, he was just going to make it through. That's what I thought. And I was saying that I had the same feeling against Darkrafter's team on my side of the bracket, or with Darkrafter's side of the bracket. I felt that the only two teams that would make it all the way through would have been me or him. And the reason why I thought that is because just team on paper. And I was saying that, like, I also thought Darkrafter's team was better than mine on paper anyway. Oh, yeah. So I'm not surprised that he won it all. Right. And I was saying that, like, the other two teams that versed him, Mustang and Adrian, I do believe it's Adrian, to be sure I'm not messing that up, or Aiden, whatever. It was a close game for his quarterfinal match, but he still won. And realistically, you know, he would have won either way, I believe. So... him winning is not surprised. Solo winning, not surprised.
Right.
Now, against each other, I think realistically this will be a tough matchup.
Yeah.
For both of them, for lots of reasons. What I am extremely glad to see is no duplicates. Not a single duplicate.
Kamala.
fuck. I was about to go on a tangent about there's no duplicates. Alright, well, you know what's interesting? Oh wait, no, Decidueye has default. Never mind. I was gonna say, you know what's interesting? Kamala's the only remover on both teams.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's the only spinner on both teams, so at least you got that much going for you. But yeah. So among these two teams, who would win? All right. So if we're looking at like 1-to-1 matchup, Low Kicks fucking goes ham this game.
Mm-hmm.
There is like nothing that wants to switch into him. So I feel like Rocky Helmet has to come, period. Which forces Solo not to run Life Orb. Because if he runs Life Orb and isn't punished, I think he just wins the game. Obviously, he doesn't really want to go Banded or any Choice Lock in Low Kicks because you want to be able to First Impression and U-turn.
Yeah.
So I feel like Darkrafter's best scenario here is running with Vaporeon because everything else just loses to Low Kicks realistically. I mean, I guess you could argue Sandy Shocks as well, but like you don't want Sandy to take free damage for no reason. And I think Sandy is a better matchup offensively into Solo's team because Solo does not really have a good switch in period to Sandy. Maybe you could argue AV Tauros, but not necessarily sure about that. Or I guess Decidueye resists both. But regardless, Sandy is a good matchup. Low Kicks is a good matchup. Excuse me. Your normal physical walls in Bronzong, Chestnut, and I'm pretty sure Maspidef has an Intimidate, right? I'm not trolling there. So like all three of those mons lose to Bug, aka Low Kicks. Bronzong technically resists Bug because it's part steel, but even if it didn't, it's still a tinted lens, so we would have ignored it anyway. So resist is out of the window. So you have to look at base stats. Vaporeon looks like the only mon that can realistically come in on Low Kicks more than once and live for long times because of wish support.
Yeah.
So I feel like a Rocky Helmet Vaporeon is just coming because Rocky Helmet Vaporeon can also take care of Tauros, and Rocky Helmet Vaporeon can also theoretically take care of Lycanroc. So I think like max defense Vaporeon just comes, and I don't think there's any way any other way to look at that.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. There's nothing else. Again, I mean, unless you want to do like, I don't know, Kamala, because then again, obviously, like these mons that have Terra, you know, they could Terra into something that could be pretty decent. Sandy Shocks itself can definitely, like, it can be defensive this game. I understand it's really good offensive, but I have a feeling Decidueye comes and it always roosts off the damage anyways, so, you know, it's better to kind
offensive Terra kind of ignores that, though. That's kind of like the beauty, right? Is that, like, the two main stabs of Sandy, Decidueye is your answer for it. And when you 100% know what your answer for a mon is going to be, you get to Terra in a way that stops that mon. I feel like Terra Ice is just really good here because it covers both Sandy and Decidueye options.
So, I would agree. However, Decidueye, if it's gonna be like max Bedef and stuff like that, like specifically here for Sandy, I'm pretty sure it takes a hit. Let's check.
I mean, it could take a hit, but it doesn't hit super effective back even against Ice.
Yeah, but then you're also, if you're an Ice type now, it makes it way easier to, you know, spam like Magneton Volt switches and stuff like that.
Theoretically. But the problem with that is that like you don't insta-Terra Ice, right? Like the thing with Decidueye is that it can roost off on things like that, but you also get momentum on Decidueye because every time it comes in, it wants to roost to make sure that it can come in again for free against Terra later. Because basically, if you're holding Terra Ice for Decidueye, if it doesn't Hoko, it's definitely 2-Koing. So all you need is chip in a turn that Decidueye isn't roosting. Because if Solo gets greedy on any single point of the game, doesn't roost, tries to attack or knock off or defog or whatever else with Decidueye, and you get to Volt away on Decidueye with Sandy, you get momentum, and you now just put it in range where next time you Terra Ice and it dies. So now, your Magneton can switch in, a little bit more freely with Volt Switch, but now you have a Sandy Shocks with no switch-ins.
Max HP, max Spadef, Decidueye, leftovers. It's a 50% chance to 2-hit KO, and that's like, I mean, you'd have to have hazards up, which I can see. I was gonna say the reason I think Spadef Sandy might be a little bit better is because I don't know. I didn't really look at Chestnut yet, but if you want to run a Spiker, that's a really good mon here. It's just good in general. There's not really a lot of mons that want to switch into it. It's like if Decidueye comes in, you set up a Spike, you Volt Switch out. If they don't defog with Decidueye, then you're pretty free to go into something like even just something like Mabalstiff, and you can just crunch something. But I don't know.
Yeah, but it's not a 50-50 with the leftovers. It's 72.
I don't know what you're looking at.
Sandy Shocks, Timid, Juvits 2, no booster. Against the Decidueye, max HP, max Adept, Sassy, with leftovers. Terra Ice. Technically, if you didn't have leftovers, it'd be a guaranteed 2K. It literally is doing 50 to 58 on dot.
See, but I just don't think you'd go. I don't know.
And the only reason why I'm even suggesting Ice is because that also covers your Sandaconda option. Just so, because Sandaconda theoretically is the secondary check to Sandy, depending on what was already out, right? Like if Magneton's out and Sandy's out, you're more likely to get a ground type move, so you're gonna want to switch to Decidueye or like Masculine. Whereas if you're expecting an electric type move, even like let's say Tauros is out currently, and so an electric type move is coming, so you may want to go to Magneton or Sandaconda instead. Obviously, that does risk just a straight up Earth Power protect. So it's like things like that. That's why Ice would theoretically be better. But you know, I mean, if you need it to be something to be still a switch in quote unquote for Magneton, right? You could try to do a different type. Let's see here. What type would be good for that then? There's not a type that would beat. There's not a type that would beat Decidueye and also still resist electric. But regardless, I mean, like with Sandy Shocks here, you could do both. That's kind of like the beauty here, is that AV Sandy Shocks is just so free, like most of the time, just because of the Mon is just really good with it. That theoretically, you could just run AV Sandy Shocks and still go offensive.
Mm-hmm. That's true. I don't know. I think Sandy Shocks has shown that it could really do just basically anything you need it to.
Yeah, it is a mod that is super flexible, which is both good and bad because sometimes you want it to run more than one set.
Yeah.
But yeah, regardless, it is, you know, a bit of a problem in terms of what you want to do in this scenario. So like obviously, like what Cindy could do, obviously there's answers, that's all it can go for. But it's still going to be a kind of a macro game where you're going to have to really keep an eye on Decidueye's health, and eventually, after one or two tries, you can't just expect Darkcrafter to give you that health for free every time. Eventually, you know, he'll do more damage when you think you can get away with not roosting. And theoretically, because Roost doesn't have 16 PP anymore, it is no longer the best option always to Roost. Because eventually, you know, you're getting low on Roosts, and, you know, theoretically, he could just switch for infinitely if he has a good enough core for it, which he does.
Yeah. Let's move off of Sandy, because I feel like we've been.
That's what I was about to do. Okay. So if we go to like Typhlosion, for example, does Darkcrafter have a Terra Fire, Eruption, Scarf Typhlosion switching?
Yeah, so that's the problem that I was about to bring up. If it's Vaporeon's here for low kicks, then
it can't be a Typhlosion answer.
Right.
So, your next best thing would be Delphox, right?
Sure.
Delphox has a base 100 Spadef. So, theoretically, it can be defensive.
Yeah, wish, protect.
Stuff get wish?
It does.
Why the fuck does everything on this team get wish?
I don't know, but it's actually really good in this matchup, actually.
Your voice cut out. But let's see here. Just for numbers wise, Terra Fire Eruption against just a max HP Delphox does not take that as much damage as you would think. I mean, that's still a good shock. It doesn't Tuco though. Always, it's a roll. So if you run, like if you're just running like, let's just say he's max just for simplicity reasons. It's doing 32 to 38, and Delphox always is threatening. So if he does go wish or whatever, that doesn't even guarantee 3-co. Like it's a roll of 3-co, and that's modest scarf. So, you know, if he hits you, you switch in once. It does damage, and then you hit him for what? Like just a sidekick, for example. Hit him with a sidekick. That's 40% of his HP gone. So let's say he's at 60% health. That's now doing not enough to even kill or two. So you just always win with a wish, which is rough. Completely.
Yep.
Hey, good, you're back. So yeah, Delphox is a really good answer, actually. Funny enough. So if Delphox is the answer, right? What else can Delphox do here? Well, Delphox is your it can't be a switch in for Tauros. It can be a switch in for Magneton though. If it is going Spadef, that means that if you do Terra and Sandy, your next best Spadef answer to Magneton spam, let's say it's modest for whatever reason, would be Delphox. That same set against Typhlosion doesn't get 2-co. It's 36-43, which is good chip, but you know, in these kinds of games, you know, it's still good. Obviously, if it's just like a normal Magneton, not specs modest, we take it less, which is nice. And obviously the one like glaring issue of Delphox is that it invites low kicks in, but low kicks can't just first impression kill it. Actually, it probably can, but it probably doesn't Hoko, which is kind of like a big thing. Yeah, it doesn't even Hoko, not even a little bit. So that is also something that needs to be kept in mind. I mean, Adamant, no boosting item. First impression does do 50% minimum to just max HP Delphox. Obviously, that's a problem. But Delphox is naturally faster. And, well, I mean, if it's going max def, it can't really run speed. So I guess that's not really like an issue. But, you know, it's not staying in on low kicks. It would go to Vaporeon anyway. Delphox can be a good answer for Gardevoir, though, because Gardevoir doesn't really have a way to get Delphox because it actually resists both. So that's actually a really good way to get Gardevoir as well. So already, Dark has Sandy Shocks, which is really good offensively, and the core of Vaporeon plus Delphox, physically Vaporeon and especially Delphox, takes care of Gardevoir, Tauros, Magneton, Typhlosion, sometimes Sandaconda, Lycanroc basically fully from Vaporeon, and low kicks kind of for Vaporeon. So right now, Darkreifer wants a secondary low kicks answer, if possible, and he wants, you know, something for if it's a random banded Decidueye for some whatever reason, right? So I guess the second answer would be maybe Sneasel, because like Sneasel is faster than low kicks, and the only problem is that it's pretty frail. So I think it just kind of dies.
You know, Violet, you know, it helps.
It doesn't take too much damage from. It takes about just as much as Delphox would, realistically. It's 43 to 51. And then Sneasel can theoretically threaten to kill if need be. I think Sneasel's going to be good offensively here anyway, because Sneasel's good into Decidueye, it's good into Magneton, it's good into low kicks, it's good into Kambala, and Lycanroc, obviously. Solo's team, ironically, has a lot of mons weak to fighting, 4 that I'm counting already. And his obviously his resistances are Masquerain and Gardevoir, which Sneasel Master can do some damage. It's gonna be a weird matchup because I actually don't think Bronzong comes to this game. I don't see Bronzong having a good matchup.
It's
Like,
not.
realistically.
It's not bad.
Maybe against Anaconda, but I mean, Anaconda just brings Rock, just SmackDown, right?
It's
really...
good against like Gardevoir if you want to run it for that.
I mean, yeah, but Delphox just takes Gardevoir even better.
Yes,
and Gardevoir has Mystical Fire if
but...
you're for Bronzong.
Yes. Okay. So that's what I was gonna say. This, you pretty easily can run Heat Proof here because you stop the Gardevoir from using Mystical Fire and really hurting. It helps for the Typhlosion if, for whatever reason, Delphox does die because, what happens. Maybe, you get knocked off, or you, like in your Heavy Duty Boots are on, or you just don't have lefties. You have lefties, so you take Rock Chip every time. So it's like Delphox can't be your only switch into 2 Mons because as soon as that thing dies, those 2 Mons are going in. So I think Bronzong as like a secondary Mon to help out with that, plus setting up rocks is actually really good in this game. I know Solo loves to swap around. I think just setting up rocks in general is really useful here.
Yeah, I mean, I could see Heat Proof coming. The only problem with that is that if you don't run Levitate, that means you do lose the Tauros. Bronzong would lose the Tauros with Earthquake. It would also make your entire team weak to Earthquake, unless you're bringing Rotom. Because, I mean, I guess theoretically you could also bring Chestnut, and Chestnut's a good answer to Tauros, but at that rate, then, I mean, theoretically, I think Tauros is your secondary defensive answer anyway for both Tauros, Decidueye, and Sandaconda, and a bit of a Lycanroc anyway. So theoretically, Vaporeon's main job is low kicks, with a secondary job of Typhlosion if Delphox dies, right? Because even max defense Vaporeon still really does well against it still does really good against Typhlosion altogether. Like let's put Typhlosion at his best, right? 100% Terra, Fire, Eruption, Modest, no specs against just max HP Vaporeon is still doing 35 to 42, right? And like you have a 80% to 3-co with leftovers on Vaporeon, and Surf almost kills just by itself, right? One wish and you're threatening it completely. Not even including Eons on the Switch or anything like that. So I feel like Vaporeon is a perfectly fine secondary option, and that's putting Typhlosion at its best at Terra, Fire, Eruption, max health. And Typhlosion doesn't have anything to touch Vaporeon unless he's running Power Herb Solar Beam, which if he's running Power Herb Solar Beam, then he doesn't beat Delphox.
You could easily run like a Terra type though for it too, like Electric or Grass.
He could, theoretically. If let's say he's running, I mean, I guess Grass in this scenario. Let's just say Grass, Terra Blast, Grass against this Vaporeon. I mean, it's doing 57 to 67 instead. Obviously that would be better, but I mean, theoretically, if he's running Terra Grass instead of Terra Fire, Delphox once again doesn't lose to Typhlosion.
Yeah, that's why you go. Doesn't it have Shadow Ball?
I know the other one does, obviously.
Yeah, this one does too.
No, I think it would be running probably Earthquake for Delphox. But
it could have Earthquake as well. Yeah, like
it does have Shadow Ball, yeah. I mean, if you're running the Delphox max HP, I guess theoretically you could have Earthquake. In this scenario, this also means you're not Choice Scarf, which is a problem because then you wouldn't be able to run Modest because you would have to run that speed to outspeed. Actually, Sneasel, Delphox, and Sandy all outspeed Typhlosion if they're max speed. So I guess theoretically you could just go Modest and say fuck it and just not care about outspeeding offensive variants, which does mean that Dark Perfect can put that, but regardless. I mean, Earthquake doesn't even 2-co if he's Modest, which is like rough. I mean, I guess he would theoretically be, even if he's timid, right? Like he still would have to be a neutral nature. So like he had to go like mild or something, and even mild is only a chance to 2-co at that point. So it's awkward. Like, this Typhlosion set's gonna still be awkward no matter which way you throw it. I mean, theoretically, you could have the perfect Typhlosion set, but regardless, this StarCrafter has like 3 different ways to beat Typhlosion, right? So basically, what Solo's main objective here is to figure out what he wants his Typhlosion to do. Like, what's Typhlosion's job? Because it can't beat everything cleanly. It just can't. So then the question is, what does it want to beat? Right? If it's heat-proof Bronzong, right, and it's like, you know, defensive Vaporeon and special defensive Delphox, technically speaking, if you're predicting heat-proof Bronzong, the best course of action would run Terra Ground, Earthquake, Typhlosion, Banded, or Scarf, but Banded, Ground, Terra, so you can hit harder than Sandaconda and be faster. Which I think that would be an interesting thing, though, because you'd still have because that means theoretically the only Mon that you would lose to, because I don't see Rotom Fan coming, but it could, I guess. But the only Mon, not including Rotom Fan, that you would lose to, well, that could take an Earthquake at that point, would be Chestnut. But you beat Chestnut because you still have your Fire Staff. Interesting. So then I guess the only Mon that you would theoretically lose to then, I guess, is Vaporeon still. But Vaporeon would be overloaded then, because that means Vaporeon would be your only safe switch into both a Low Kicks and Typhlosion, which means that you can bounce between the two of them and double push Vaporeon until it dies. Alright, Solo, there's your build. Physical Ground Terra Typhlosion.
I hate it.
There's your build. I know you hate it, but it's funny, but it actually works, because, like, obviously it depends on Bronzong not being Levitate, but that's the problem then, right?
No.
That's another reason why Bronzong wants to be Levitate, because Typhlosion, even if it's not Terragon, whatever, right? Earthquake is still a good enough stat for Delphox, where Delphox can't be a hard counter for it, which means that if you're running Heat-Proof Bronzong, you're still fucked no matter which version Typhlosion comes, because Earthquake should be on Typhlosion.
There's a huge problem, though. If you're
What's
banded, and you go for Earthquake.
If you are banded, yeah, then you can predict that.
That is horrible.
Theoretically, yes. The banded part is not necessary.
But if you're physical, Vaporeon always comes in on you and is like, hey, another physical Mon that I can wall.
See, but here's the thing. You go Terra Ground, but you have Solar Beam still.
Okay.
So you could
now you're
Solar Beam the Vaporeon.
Okay.
Because you don't go banded, you're right. You go fucking Power Herb. So you go Power Herb, Solar Beam still. Now the real question is, does it get Solar Blade? Solar Blade?
No, it doesn't.
Damn,
you're pushing him too far.
If only you got Solar Blade.
Did you see what I did with my Typhlosion versus Solo?
I mean, you lost, so it didn't work.
Did you see it though?
I don't remember. Probably.
I pushed it too. I made it a Spadef wall for Typhlosion plus Gardevoir.
Oh, because of the Flash Fire shit. Yeah.
It didn't work because I couldn't put in Seismic Toss, but you know, whatever.
You couldn't put in Seismic Toss. You get Seismic Toss?
It used to, I guess. I don't know.
I don't remember it ever having Seismic Toss.
It did, and then, cause like, I was getting help from steering, and I guess he wasn't in the post home draft build, and when I went to go play, it said nope, can't do that.
That's rough.
Yeah.
See, that's why you always double check. Yeah,
Well,
but like, yeah, theoretically, like in that scenario, right? Like Typhlosion, like it's he has enough flexibility to where he could do something here. But like, the more I'm looking at this matchup, the more I'm looking at, like, man, this matchup is decided in the first 5 turns. Specifically, who leads what, and who gets the first tempo shift. Because for those of you that are watching this video and aren't as inversed in draft, and this is more you're watching these to kind of learn, or maybe someone experienced who, you know, just never thought about it like this. The first 5 turns in the draft match are the most important because it sets tempo. There are a lot of games, and my game against Mustang is actually a perfect example. There's a lot of games that the matchup doesn't matter. if you gain tempo early enough and are able to carry it throughout the game. Basically, what tempo means is having the putting yourself in the position where your choice matters more than your opponent's choice, because your opponent is forced to do something or has to respect something. So a great example would be in that Mustang game when Moltres was out against Tentacle, right? I originally gained tempo Mustang originally gained tempo because Tentacle should realistically never fully stay in unless I'm Sash against Moltres, because I would die. However, no matter if I stayed in or not, Moltres' safest option was always U-turn. Always U-turn. So I gained tempo back by baiting him, by staying in, and I risked it, and it paid off. In the early game, I gained tempo. I lost tempo, however, because I then played too safe and didn't press my advantage. After winning that one tempo and getting that knockoff off and getting things starting to go, I lost tempo because after Heavy Duty Boots was knocked off Moltres, I never brought in Tikaton to set rocks. And when I eventually did, it was too late, and he already had gotten more damage off, and I'd already lost my advantage. Things like that really matter at when you start really thinking about Pokemon in competitive, and the stronger it goes. And this match is going to be a big example of that, because both Solo and Darkrafter have extremely threatening offensive teams that if one of them just gets free damage off, the other is crippled for the rest of the game. The problem here, though, is that it's really hard to predict who's going to get tempo first, because theoretically Darkrafter could just lead with fucking just Specs Sandy Shock, and Solo doesn't lead with something that immediately beats Sandy, is immediately in the wrong position, right? So, what do you do? Because nothing on Solo's team one-shots Sandy. Not a single one of them. So, that is a problem, right? Whereas Darkrafter has Mons that can one-shot. And I think that is something that I would lean towards Darkrafter for. It's also why in prep we tell you to get scary Mons, because a Mon that can Hoko half your team or can't be Hoko'd by an enemy team is always a threat, because that means it immediately can trade its health for effective health. Because sometimes, especially fast Mons that hit hard don't need a full health bar to do damage. They just need enough health to come in, hit, and get out. Simple as that. And Sandy does that very well.
All right, so
what a rant there.
On that note, I obviously have to stick with my lock. I mean, there's no reason to switch.
Well, duh. Yeah, I mean, theoretically, I would also continue with your lock, because literally in quarterfinals, I verbatim said that I thought Darkrafter was going to win this entire thing.
I thought about it at the beginning of the day.
And we both knew that we thought Darkrafter was going to win it all. And here he is. But you know what? To keep the spirit alive, I want to see Low Kicks win. I want to see Low Kicks win the first time it ever can. And then I want to draft it first round next season.
Alright, I'm putting it in.
I wanted to use Low Kicks so badly this season, but I was given just given free Mons in in other things. So I could not in good faith get Low Kicks to fit on my team. I tried to fit it so many times, but the more I thought about my team, I literally grabbed a Noivern and Slowking Galar, way too expensive, just not top half. I could never fit Low Kicks. But to be fair, this season I was just trying to build a solid team. I feel like I did. I threw, but I built a solid team, and I'm happy. Next season, I'm playing the Mons that are fucking fun, and I'm gonna win doing that. But yeah, regardless, I want Solo to win. I think he will lose. Ooh. I would bet that he would lose, but I hope he wins. So I'm gonna vote for Solo. Okay. And given how Solo doesn't really win cleanly most of his games, I guess that's rude, but I've seen him 2-0 and 1-0 people more often than I've seen anything else. So I'm gonna say 2-0 Solo.
All right.
And I think Solo's gonna win.
honestly, I can see how Solo can win. It's definitely gonna be rough if he does win. You know what? Both of these people, well, obviously Darkrafter because he's new to the league, but both these people have never won a season, right? Unless I'm mistaken.
Solo is not one? I thought he won one.
Did he win? Maybe I'm mistaken.
Fuck if I know, man. I don't keep track of the winners here.
Ah.
Let me look real quick. Let me look.
Am I dumb?
Solo. Yeah, he's won.
When?
Well, he's got the role, so he's definitely won.
Oh, was it like way back? Does it say like what kind?
It does not say when. Speaking of which, I'm gonna put the fort ship on my actual account because I'm not gonna use my smartphone anymore. But yeah, spoilers. But yeah.
There's no way. What? Was it? Oh, I remember. Never mind. Okay, well, he's never won solo.
I was about to say, I'm like 99% sure that he's definitely won a season.
Okay, he's never won solo. I'm pretty sure it was tag team when he won. I think.
Oh, did he win a tag team?
I'm pretty back in the day. I think it was tag team.
Was it tag team? Maybe. Well, either way, Solo has always been a very consistent player, and Solo's playstyle has never changed once. I swear to God, this man does not change his playstyle, which is both good and bad. Because if you're a consistently good player and you don't change your playstyle at all, that just means that the people that don't know how to play against your playstyle will always lose. But the people that are good against your playstyle should be really fun games. And that's why I love playing against Solo. I don't play against them that much. I think honestly, I think the last time I played against Solo was that the finals of UTA. Was it finals that I versus Solo? I think so. Yeah. Or was it like? Anyway, regardless, Solo's fun to face, and I know this will be a fun game. Yeah, let's see that upset. Even though it's not an upset, they're both technically the top of their tier. Darkrafter's run was a lot more impressive than Solo's was. Solo theoretically shouldn't even be first place. But regardless,
yeah, I'm gonna go with Darkrafter, obviously, and
I'll say Solo.
I think either way, it's gonna be a very close match. So I'll also go with a 2-0.
Okay. So, given that this is the last Pickems video for this season, is there any spoilers for next season you want to tell people? That way we reward the viewers.
See, I could, but at the same time, I didn't for the other three. I don't think.
Exactly, because we're the better division. Clearly.
Okay. Well. All right. Let's see. For a spoiler, I will say that we are looking into adding in some other Pokemon that we previously banned. Don't want to go into detail yet because I didn't talk to a lot of the mods yet.
It's not official yet, but there are some mods that are pretty much gonna get in. Oh, I could spoil something that I know for a fact you will not have a problem with. Okay. I can 100% guarantee that Jumpluff will be in next season.
Oh yes. I forgot that mod existed, so that's why I wasn't in this season. But yeah.
But yeah, there's some other mods that they're cooking up to be in next season. Probably going to be more. It's probably going to be more of an a leadership vote before we even give them to you guys to vote on. But I will say that for those that are watching and getting ready to vote for them next season when they do come up, the ones that will be suggested, we did not just pick because we thought it would be fun. We do think about all the sets they could run and why and etc. And there are some rules that may be changing next season that will make it more viable for these mods to come in and not be as broken as you may think immediately. So don't immediately say, oh no, I will lose to that mod if it's in, therefore it should not be in.
Yeah. Yeah, like for instance, when we unban like Dialga, don't be like, hey, it's gonna be
We thought about his stats and we think he's trash.
He's trash. What is he gonna run?
He's got one set and you can always prep for it. It doesn't matter if he's a legendary and he has better stats than all of the top mons combined.
Dies to Earthquake. That's it.
Dies to Earthquake. Dies to Banded +6 Earthquake.
Yeah.
From Azumarill with you.
Banded plus... Okay.
Clearly.
Banded +6. Tell me how that works.
Dude, what if we unbanned Huge Power Azumarill and put it at the top? That'd be fun to think about.
I would ban myself before I unbanned it.
Aw, would it be fun?
No, what did you just say? What did you
See, and this is why it's not gonna be in. Because we only want to do it because it's fun.
Yeah. Well, yeah, not completely official. We're just tinkering with some ideas. But I guess another one, and I have talked about it. The 25-point Terra thing isn't gonna be 25 points. It was really just to test a lot of the Terras and stuff like that, see how many points was good. We wanted to start with 25 because it gave you access to an 18 if you wanted, plus another decent mon. Now,
we want to stress test.
Yeah, we're looking at 20 points because you'll still be able to get 2 Terras if you really want, but if you want a higher tier mon, you're gonna need to get like a really 2 or 3 point mon, depending on where your points go. But or we could just do we could limit the Terras. We're gonna have to test on all that stuff, but
I think the lowering the points will be fine. But regardless, I think that's a good stopping point.
Yep. All right, so we'll see you guys, I guess, next season then.
Bye-bye. Don't miss me too much.